So we'll try this again. Sometimes we need to reset the stream and seem to have difficulties at times. And we hope that this will alleviate the problem. And in a few minutes, everything should start to catch up. Now, those of you who are watching this on recording on demand, I apologize for the problems. I guarantee you that they will be fixed, and there will be more problems after that to be fixed. And such is life, and that is how we learn. I really want to get started on something, and I see that we're back on live. So we'll just jump to this really interesting little bit. I promised everyone a treat, and I really want to serve this treat at the beginning, and maybe we'll do it at the end if everyone loves it so much. So let's just take a few moments. It's just a couple minutes. I've been unsubscribing. Oh, that's my, can't read that stuff. Digital Happy Meals, stolen cereals, tweet, I call it smut, unashamed to spam to get something to retouch. Make sure you get the crowd. You get what you pay for, squeezing and teasing for cheap retouching, looking for a Photoshop whore. Grateful for all my customers and their trust with photos that I retouch. Yeah. File size isn't so lean with adjustment layer schemes. It's best to be safe and live within your means. Blast the exposure, highlight to the black. Balance the tones, that kind of raw workflow keeps you on your toes. Tyrannical beneficence, unmerciful oppression, giving to take, exposing to dominate, responsibilities equal consequences equal fate. Yeah. Something I wrote when I was working. 3 monitors, not 2, I wish. Lots of windows and palettes to display, massive amounts of work to get through. And I don't get it. Google Analytics. Yet, if I have faith, read and check, I'll find something useful at best. Got some old photos? I got a tip for you. No need to resave as TIFF all those scanned and downloaded JPEGs when all you plan to do is archive and display them. No need.
Right on.
It's my man Chip and Fernando. One day, I recall one day,
I ate a big dinner lunch twofer while installing Photoshop CS5 on the production computer. And I will spare you the rest, but we'll leave you with one more. As we wind up at the Shorefront Legacy store. This one's bittersweet. I'm gonna tell you this. Are you sure that's in focus? If your work is easily made into commodities, it's already gone to some place overseas. Thank you.
I don't know if you enjoyed that as much as I was embarrassed about it. This was the story behind it is quite complicated, and I won't bore you, but it was a little recitation with poetry recitation that I had done from little things I've written over the years, and it was at the Shorefront Legacy Center in Evanston, Illinois. So they had a grand opening, and I just asked if it was open mic, so I got on. Anyways, so let's talk a little bit about just working on some pictures. That's primarily what we do. I want to start out with a professional photograph, something that isn't necessarily an old photo that we might have laying around. This would actually be something that's going to be used to advertise something or sell something. So let's get that going here. So here's a photograph by a photographer that you've seen me use his pictures, quite a few, Scott Grissel of Creatista.com. So we'll talk a little bit about what is going on here with this particular photograph. There's that is actually what I call my finished version, and there is a original version that was also worked on, but I want to make sure that I show you what I'm talking about here, so I get them both. Now in Photoshop CS5 or 4, they had these tabs, and it doesn't really work for in this type of instance. So here we have a vertical portrait. It's a very clean shot, and what I mean by clean is composition. It's well planned, and lighting. So what I always do is look around. A lot of times digital photographs all have the same problem, and sometimes you can catch this if it's your own camera or someone else's. But they have what's called sensor dust, and these are little spots that show up, and they show up in the most annoying places sometimes. You know, in an instance like this, you know, I would get rid of it. You know what I'll do is I'll just pop this one and put this one right on top of the it should be the other way around, so let me do that. we will take this layer here, and I'll get into that S layer in a second. We'll put the original here, move that under. All right. That's better. Zooming in. All right. So you see these are the sensor spots. You see it there. Sometimes, you know, they get covered up by the image, you know, what's in the image. So it's not always easy to find. But here's a perfect example down here at the bottom. So these two lines here. So, you know, get rid of those lines. Now, another thing that will always get you is those hairs, stray hairs. Men and women get them. And unfortunately for women, it can always be very difficult to get rid of. And, you know, there's a couple ways to go about doing it. You know, typically, let me go here. Typically, one may take the healing brush and you know, work it like that. You know, and come in and, you know, just blend it in. Yeah, and then I come in with the clone stamp to get those edges. You know, you can do something like that. You know, it's not always pretty. Or you can sometimes you just take the area around it. In this case, we'll just come right around here with our lasso tool, and we'll feather it. When I feather, we soften the edge of it so it's not harsh. You can go into quick mask mode. This is Photoshop. Elements does not have this function. We'll go into quick mask, and it gives you a real nice show of how the soft edge will be. And you could just copy and paste that into its own layer. You can do one of many things. Stretch it down to here. All right. And I'll make a layer mask on there. Take my paintbrush tool. I say I go to 25% hardness brush. All right. Yeah. There you got rid of some of that. You know, that's one way to do it. And actually, this way I actually prefer, because it is, you know, all it does is extend the background. Now, when you clone something, it can get a little messy looking, you know, and so that's a great description of what we did with the head. So, you know, now some elements in a photo can be questionable. For example, this flower here. You know, this flower's in the foreground, and hence it is out of focus, as it should be. However, it can look kind of odd. You know, and in that case, there's a couple of things you can do. If it bothers you, the simplest thing is to grab that crop tool. Alright. Now, what's nice about this particular image is it is a kitchen shot. You know, it says a fancy refrigerator. You know, a nice stainless steel refrigerator. We crop. And you see it kind of tells us something. The only problem is you see down here. So we could go like this. You know, and it's a little heavy, but it does say something here. And also the mug might seem a little big too. But, you know, these are very subjective descriptions. I am not by any means critiquing the quality of the image. Heck, I was paid to fix it. But, you know, other things we can, you know, try to work on. And this isn't always easy to catch, because sometimes you're so focused on getting the other details, but sometimes some hair in the neck, just reduce that a little bit. You know, strange hairs that might go across, something like that. And here she has a strong strand of blonde or white hair that shows up. You know, and you can work on you know, eliminating or reducing that so it doesn't cut so far into the skin, the neck area. You know, little things like that. And the other thing I like to work on is the eyes. And I was, you know, working with photographers, you know, retouching for them. I have learned a lot. I mean, you know, I'm not born knowing this stuff, and I don't have some kind of trick, or I don't go to school for it. Magic recipe, you know, magic numbers. You know, you just gotta pay attention, listen, and learn. And a lot of the photographers I work with, I learn a lot from them. So this one in particular expressed to me his desire to see the eyes sharpened a certain way. And I thought, wow, this is interesting, because so many pictures are not sharpened. It's kind of against the convention, at least professionally. Don't sharpen your pictures. Let whoever takes your picture and publishes it, or buys it, or whatever, manipulates it, you know, let them sharpen it, because you don't want to give them something that's sharpened, because it's you know, they may say it's too sharpened, it's over sharpened. So here we have, you know, in this instance, the eyes. So the best way to go in with it is at 100%. And as you see, let me zoom, let me go to window mode, and you'll see down here, 100% down here at the left corner, or you see up here in the menu, it says up in the window bar, 200%, 300%. Just stay at 100. So we just, you know, copy the eyelid, part of the eye, paste it in its own layer. And let me see if I can get that for you. Yeah, I just want to show you the mask. And let me jump into channels. This will do it. Alright. And you paint that with the quick mask tool generally. And it really makes a difference. And then, of course, sharpen it pretty nicely. And then you pull back in the opacity in the layer palette. So before, after. Before, after. It's kind of hard to tell on the internet. Images are so fuzzy, you know. But, you know, this can give your eyes a nice little spark, you know. You know, another thing I like to work on is, let's see if I can, I went ahead and did something here, but I actually want to merge these in this instance. All right. Another thing you can do, and again, stay at 100%, is you can lighten the area in here. There's a couple ways to do that. You can use a dodge tool here. If you use a dodge tool, make sure you use highlights as your range. And I'd say bring your exposure down. Yeah, 15%. Start right there. And you start with a brush that fits right here. So what we do is we brighten up the cornea. Kind of gives it a little marble sparkle. Be careful, you can overdo it. But it just gives it a nice, look at her eyes, you know, they really look nice, you know. They again, it might be a little too much. Photographer might say, it's too extreme, what are you doing? No problem, I just put it back, you know, and we can do that. So yeah, watch out for, you know, hard light in here. Sometimes it's intentional, so you leave it. That's the purpose of it. You know, I think this is pretty nice. Now, if there's ever any questions that you have, feel free to email me. We have a little ticker running on the live stream page, and you can always send it to Eric B at photografix.pro, and I'll be more than happy to help you. There's so many things that we can do with Photoshop just to make pictures look a little better. And you don't need, again, you got to think of retouching as I don't want to say decoration, but it should be treated as the trim, for your, let's say in the terms of maybe a carpenter who makes a bookshelf. We can just take the wood and, you know, nail it together or whatever, and we have a bookshelf. But if we put trim on it, maybe some molding, and have it go around the corner, you know, and you know, have it sawed just right so that the corner meets flush and there's no gap, and then there's a nice couple coatings of stain, then a couple coatings of you know, you know, polyurethane, just to make it shine, you know, and you sand it again, and you and you lay another coat down, and then you sand that, and you lay another coat down, and ooh, it just looks like, you know, wood inside of glass. You know, this is how you should approach retouching pictures. You cannot make a good picture out of you know, a careless image. You know, I mean, I've heard one teacher say there are no bad originals, and I definitely agree with him, because you have to approach the picture with the attitude that you can fix it. But sometimes if you want to make your best picture, not necessarily if you're working on other people's pictures, but if you want to make your best picture, you have to put into it planning, you have to put into it good composition, and you got to put into it technical. You have to be aware of the technical aspects. You know, what are you doing with that shutter speed? What are you doing with that aperture opening? And how is the light affecting what's happening on the subject? You know, do you squint your eyes when you look at the subject? Because in photography, if you ever want to know how your image is going to be recorded, whether on film or on digital, generally you can look at your subject and this glass, let's say, and I squint and look at it, and that's pretty much how it's going to show up in the camera. You know, and it's generally going to be underexposed, so you have to light it right, and that doesn't necessarily mean a head-on flash. You know, so we went, we look at this picture right here, and she is lit, okay? She is lit by a strong light to the right, by the almost, almost between her and that refrigerator, and there's a soft light that's almost what you would say is almost a soft light down here, maybe on the other side of this flower, just coming up, almost at the side or lower side, So there's no straight on flash, and the straight on flash makes a big difference. And when you're dealing with faces and blemishes and eyes and stuff, a straight on flash can really make those blemishes pop out. And your lighting, if it's harsh and strong, the facial details are going to really show. So I'll try to zoom in here on this so we can see the before close up. Now she really has some decent skin, okay? But you can see a little bit. I reduced some of the wrinkles, not all, just some, and we, removed some of the spots. But if we had a straight-on flash, a head-on flash, I guarantee you that it wouldn't look that nice, And sometimes straight-on flash, there's a style, and sometimes that is appropriate. It is. But you have to, do it enough to understand when it's appropriate. Because, all styles and techniques are not necessarily equal for the application to which you want to use it.
What makes a good scan?
What is a selection?
What are layers?
What is resolution?
What is a JPEG?
What is TIFF?
What is RGB?
How do I crop a picture?
What is a zoom tool?
What is a clone stamp?
What are levels?
My name is Eric Basir, and I have produced this unique photo restoration and retouching foundations video course to answer all these questions and more. In my classes and workshops, I have taught hundreds how to preserve and restore their personal photographic collections with Adobe Photoshop and Adobe Photoshop Elements. Now you can have me as your personal instructor in this 10-lesson course. After studying the videos and easy-to-read workbook, you'll finish with a firm foundation of how to use Adobe Photoshop or any other photo editing program confidently and correctly.
I have an older photograph that I would like to bring up on the screen. It's actually a few of them. These are some old family photos that I was asked to work on. And so we have, what are you still doing here? Alright. Oh, and they all go into their own tab. I gotta turn that preference off. Alright. Let me try to bring these. Lovely. See if I can close this one. Okay. Let's try this over here. Okay. Good. I think I fixed it. Alright. Well, I'll just work like this then. Alright. So here they are. These are some little snapshots. And right away, looking at these pictures, we can see the problems. And what's the first problem? The first problem is, in my eye, is the photo is out of focus. Indeed, it was shot out of focus. And I'd say trees are almost sharper than the people. And it's not necessarily the camera operator's fault, depending on, oftentimes it was the camera. So, and we're looking at this one, which is a similar image, which I think was a better moment, and it has less damage. Now this one shot at the, I believe the same time, yeah, look at the clothes, the same tie. And this, I mean, you look at, you said, this is sharp. You know, they are really sharp. I'd still say, you know, probably the direct background is a little sharper than they are, but the faces are much, much better. All right. So out of these two, in some cases we have to work on all of them. All right. But in this one, we can attack this one right away. And what I'd like to do is get my crop tool and just get rid of the excess. And it's always good to scan like this. When you scan an old picture, give it room, do a little cropping, but give it room on the sides in the scanner when you scan it. And we'll hit return there. We got our crop. And it's always good to save. Now this will be your working copy. Change the file name slightly. Alright, and the next step would be to eliminate the color cast. Now in this case, we have some nasty looking color spots. I mean, literally, whatever that is, you know, it could be a piece of crayon. This could be some paint. Who knows? Who knows? And parts of it could be fading. So I just say right away, when we have CS4 and above, we can use the black and white. I like that black and white adjustment layer. Or you can just use hue and saturation. And right off, we eliminate that problem right there of the weird tones going on. Now we're just looking at spots. We're looking at scratches. We're not necessarily looking at strange color aberrations, which can really get confusing and make the job more difficult than it needs to be. So let's duplicate the background layer. I don't know who invented that. Whoever did is like the person that invented soap. So I say just get rid of some of the big scratches here. Some of the big, nasty, obvious ones. Now be careful because there's some bark back here and there is detail. And that can get messy. So let's move on here. Like I said, just go after the big ones. And when I say big ones, I mean, you know, bigger than what I'm working on here. But this is in the eye. And I just like eyes so much. I like eyes so much that I want to give them a little extra special treatment. Because eyes are the window to the what? To the soul. We all look at the eyes first. They get you in trouble. You learn when you're in trouble. You look at the eyes. There we go. I don't need to work on that. I shouldn't have done that one. Here's a big little fuzz. Get rid of that. Ooh, and sometimes, boy, when you get it in the mouth, ugh, dust spots in the mouth. Yeah. You know what I loved about pictures from this era? Sometimes, you know, the photographer would have a group of people and they'd have them all looking off into different directions. Some would be looking in different directions. I'm using the healing brush, by the way, and it's kind of messy right here. I don't like what's happening here. That's a fold. You might think, hey, that's a dust spot. Let me get rid of it. Nope. That's the blouse. It's folded and it's a shadow. That is damage right there. These are damaged areas. Look at the old car back there. Looks like a stroller or a cart. Watch out for details, you know? Respect the details. That's what I say. I think they're going to be practicing. Now, a little bit about this photo. You may be surprised. Maybe not, because it's really not good policy for a teacher to be using their own family photos. But I owe this to my aunt. So I said I better work on this for the show. She gave this to me quite a few months ago to work on. And I've been procrastinating. So I think we're going to make this one a special project for the Ask the Retoucher show. So that's some major stuff. Yeah, let's get rid of that. I don't know what this is here, except that it's most likely, because it looks like it's going into the hand. Like if you look, it's like a perfectly even spot going over this whole area. So I'm thinking that is a defect in the print. But this is something I would attack much later. Not right now. Anyways, that's my grandfather. And this is my aunt. My other aunt. And my other aunt. And the other little one. Oh, that was in the other one. We'll get to that another time. I'll surprise you about that one. Okay. So we took care of that. And then if you've watched me perform these kind of tutorials, these step-by-steps before, the next step is to throw a dust and scratches filter on top of that, and in conjunction with the history brush, paint away some spots. So I think we'll save that for the next show, and unless there's any questions, I think we'll just conclude it right here. I thank you so much for joining us, and as always, I am greatly honored. One of our loyal watchers, listeners, students, Dennis, is always online there helping me debug myself. I promise you, every show I will, stumble and fall, but we'll get through it. Thanks again to Dennis and everyone out there for making this show interesting for me and interesting for you. Have a great weekend. Have a great month. Practice hard. Duplicate that background layer. And we'll see you, I believe, at the end of July. So check your email newsletter. If you are not subscribed, there is on the live stream page, there's a ticker you can click on, or just send an email to mailinglist@photographics.pro, and you will get an email message with the schedule of when the next show is. And you can also RSVP on the live stream page. Bye-bye.